today we're going to cover how much this movie cost, a little bit about the box office, a quick summary of the plot and what happened, and then we're going to finish it off with giving our official ranking and rating system that we've worked very hard on establishing. Without further ado, Stephen, take it away.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so this was released April 1st. So we're about a month and change into it. It has made $900 million so far. And a couple weeks ago, that number was at 750. So this has officially it's $110 million budget, but with marketing, all that jazz, it's probably more like 300. And with comparison to the first movie, if we assume that it's around the 300 million similar budget, it made 1.36 billion. So it's trailing a little bit of the first one, but it's still doing quite well.
Wait, so of that 900 million, how much of that is domestic and international, or is that all?
It's actually a 50-50 split, which is really cool.
Okay.
So the US audience is really coming to see this. Speaking of like the plot, Mario ventures into space, exploring cosmic worlds and tackling galactic challenges far from the familiar Mushroom Kingdom. So yeah, it's a month and a half in. Brian and I both saw it. Brian, what were your kind of initial thoughts?
You know, I'll try to say as much as I can without ruining my kind of rating score. Just to start off the back, comparing it to the first one, I think there's a reason why it made less money, and that's because I think it's a far inferior movie. It had moments and it had a lot of good feel. I liked the incorporation of these new characters like Rosalina getting added in. Her little star babies are super cute, and I actually really like that element of it. I'm a huge Yoshi fan, and they were like fired him in right away. And it kind of felt like they were for going over a plot, the plot was kind of just not hitting enough. I liked, what they were doing with Bowser was interesting, of not making him, he's captured and miniaturized. I almost wish they stuck with that the whole time. Stick with him being small, and make him play, because I think he was switching sides too much. That it kind of like devalued him as like a threat. And I think if they just made it where he was playing this con of trying to, or maybe he really does have anger management problems, and this is like something he's been working on. And when he's miniature, he's not a threat. But then, like, at the very end, he becomes big, and it's kind of like, it felt like it was all over the place, a little too much. The writing wasn't there. It just didn't hit the same way. I don't know if you felt the same way.
I definitely do. I think we're 2 for 2 with regards to it's definitely the worst film of the two. And then I agree. I think the writing was just lacked, like you said, and it just didn't quite hit as hard as the first. And I think that's a pretty fair assessment. Before we get into the ratings, I'll just say I think one of the major factors, which I would, recommend it to families and stuff, is because it really was like an incredible visual experience. While despite the story lacking a little bit, Bowser, right, kind of being two switch sides, like all that. So anyway, without further ado, Brian, you want to lead us off?
Yeah, and you know what? I think I did trash it a little bit more than, I didn't hate it. It was good. I just I really liked the first one, and the first one grew on me a lot. This one it didn't hit the same, but I still am hopeful for the series. But that brings me into our rating. So, Stephen, if you want to announce the categories, I'll then say the numbers.
Okay. Should I go at the same time?
Yeah, why not?
Okay.
Or let me fire them off real quick, and then you're going to go and do them.
Okay, there we go. Cinematography. Now, keep in mind, folks, you can add on, we have this system, it's not 100% dialed in, but you can add visual effects to a certain category if you so choose. But cinematography overall.
Yeah, so I gave it a 13. I gave it a 13 out of 20. Okay. And then I just felt, again, it was like it didn't have moments like remember that training sequence in the first one of him like jumping off of the rocket. It just like flowed better. This one is just kind of, again, it felt just slightly more phoned in.
Okay. All right. Performances out of 20.
I gave this a 14, and as I say all these, I almost want to give them less. I think that it just not memorable enough to be anything. I thought that there was definitely some funny moments. Jack Black's really charismatic, and I actually, who I think I like the most is probably Luigi. He's probably the character I was like, found that was like kind of the best written and most enjoyable.
Cool.
Charlie Day did a fantastic job. So he's pretty responsible for that 14.
Okay. And then we got writing and directing out of 20.
So I gave this a 10. It was a serviceable movie, so that's why it gets a 10, but it deserves nothing more.
Okay. Editing / music.
And I gave this a 10. I gave editing and directing a 7, and I gave music a 10. So that would put my overall score at a 61. And then I added 8 points because I love Yoshi, and he was very cute during it. But then I subtracted 5 points because it felt like a crutch. So that left me at 64 points for Mario N64, one of my favorite all-time games. And this one did not live up to that game either. So a 64 out of 100 is my score.
What about the marketing budget category?
Yeah, I gave that a 10. I thought that was like they did a good job with it was out there. You saw it, but nothing crazy, no commercials stuck or anything like that. So there was a lot more room. So how about you quickly, like, what is your final score breakdown, or do you want to quickly just read off your numbers?
Yeah, so I think it's just 68 out of 100. That was my final ranking. Cinematography 15. I was actually very impressed with just like the visual experience. I know a big part of that is visual effects, but 15 out of 20 for performances. I thought they were fine. They're good. Nothing exceptional. 6 out of 20 for writing and directing, because I really just was so bummed with the story. And I was like, man, this had the visuals to be an unbelievable movie, but they just couldn't figure out the story. And then editing, visual effects, 15, 16 for marketing. So mine's actually higher on the marketing side, just because I'm like, you know what? Let's say it costs $300 million with marketing, even though they say it costs 110, you're still making a bill after that. So as far as just like a successful commercial product and that kids, I would suggest families go, then I think it's more of a win than a loss. But that's our ratings. We're happy about it, but not over the moon by any means.
Yeah, so there you have it. Please let us know what you all think.